Hello everyone. From class 12th Business Studies, we were studying the chapter of directing. As you all know that this is the 7th chapter in our syllabus, and in this we had already discussed few of the topics like the meaning of directing, the characteristics of directing, importance of directing. These topics have already been discussed between us in our previous classes. Today, we will be discussing the principles of directing. So before we start, we must understand that what does principles of directing mean, or why are we studying this topic, or in what manner this can be helpful for a business organization or a manager. Now, the meaning of directing, we studied that directing means providing instructions, giving guidance, motivating the employees, and undergoing with the leadership function. So, while providing instructions, there are certain points that have to be kept in mind in every manager. There are certain principles that have to be followed by each and every manager so that it can make the directing function effective. I just mean to say that directing function is to be undertaken, and it will be undertaken by each and every manager, but the thing is whether it has been undertaken in a simple manner or in an effective manner will actually makes the difference for the organization. So how can a manager makes the directing function effective? That depends upon these principles. So total 8 principles are there that have to be kept in mind by every manager. In that one, the first one we have is maximum individual contribution. While providing instructions, a manager must ensure that the subordinates, the employees, the workers all must contribute to the goals of the organization. There should be a maximum contribution oriented instructions. Instructions should not be provided in such a manner that the one part of an organization is performing but the other part of the organization is not performing. Instructions should be provided in such a manner that will ensure maximum individual contribution, that all the employees in the organization, all the subordinates will contribute towards the organizational goals. Let us see what important points are written here, and you can note down those points that I will underline here in your copy in the notes form. So the point written here is, this principle emphasizes that directing techniques must help every individual in the organization to contribute to his maximum potential for achievement of organizational objectives. So we can just underline and mark this much of the part for your notes purpose. This principle emphasizes that directing techniques must help every individual in the organization to contribute to his maximum potential for achievement of organizational objectives. It should bring out untapped energies of employees for the efficiency of the organization. But of this, how much you will note down in your copy? Up to here. Fine. So let us move with the second point, and before that let us read one of the example for this. A good manager or a good motivation plan with suitable monetary and non-monetary rewards can motivate an employee to contribute his maximum efforts for the organization. as he or she may feel that their efforts will bring them suitable rewards. So, whatever kind of motivation you will use, whether it can be monetary, that is providing increment in salary, providing allowances, or non-monetary, that is uh, uh, awarding shields or trophies, certificates, non-monetary, whatever kind of motivation will be provided, it must bring to the mind of an employee that it will help us, whatever efforts we will provide, it will help us to attain some sort of reward. The second point of principle comes here to be harmony of objectives. Now it has always been seen that there is you can say collide between the expectations of the employees and the expectations of the organization. Employees always demand for high salaries, while organization always wants to provide low salaries so that can earn high profits. The directing function should be undertaken in such a way that a harmony, a combination in the objectives of the individual employees and in the objectives of the organization can be achieved. Every employee must understand that when we will work for the organization willingly, it will help us to earn high salaries. So now you can just see here what is written. Very often we find that individual objectives of employees and the organizational objectives as understood are conflicting to each other. So first of all you will underline, sorry, first of all you will note down this much part, that is very often we find that individual objectives of employees and the organizational objectives as understood are conflicting to each other. After that we will move further and we will note down what good directing should ensure. Wait, good directing should ensure to provide harmony of harmony by convincing that employee rewards and work efficiency are complementary to each other. So this you can note down. After that, the unity of command, the third principle of directing, and this is actually the most important one. Why so? We all know unity of command means one unit, one boss. At a point of time, the instructions, the orders must be received by the subordinates from a single superior. And this is the most important point that have to be keep in our mind while undergoing the directing function. Why so? Because if more than one superior will give instructions, it will create a confusion in the mind of the employees and the work will not be completed. So this principle states insists that a person in the organization should receive instructions from one superior only. If instructions are received from more than one, it creates confusion, conflicts, and so how much you will note down? You will note down till here. This principle insists that the a person in the organization should receive instructions from one superior only. After that, we have the next one, that is appropriateness of direction technique. Again, an important one. The direction or directing includes motivation. Motivation can be provided in monetary form and it can be provided in non-monetary form also. But the thing is, there are certain levels and there are certain employees in the organization who can get motivated by monetary incentives. Otherwise, few of the employees may get motivated through non-monetary incentives. There are few people who can get motivated with the positive motivation when you will appreciate them, and there are certain classes of employees who can get motivated through negative motivation when you will punish. So it depends upon the attitude of an employee, it depends upon the uh, class or the level of the management, that what kind of directing technique you have to use upon them. So this is an important principle that have to be kept in mind by the manager, that which directing technique has to be used. According to this principle, just wait. According to this principle, appropriate motivational and leadership technique should be used while directing the people based on the subordinate needs, capabilities, attitudes, and other situational variables. So we have to keep in mind the capabilities, attitudes, and other situational variables of our employees or the subordinates. Let us move further. We have the next one, that is managerial communication. Again, an important point. Communication means transfer of information from one person to another. Managerial communication means transfer of information or instructions from the manager to the subordinate. Now, it is important that the communication should be made in such a manner that it should uh, be understood by each and every subordinate. Mere giving instructions is not sufficient, but we must ensure, or a manager must ensure, that the instructions provided to the subordinates are as much clear, understandable, and are to be followed by each and every subordinate. So this is meant by managerial communication, else there will be no use of providing instructions. So this is again one of the principle of directing, that managerial communication must be effective. Effectiveness of managerial communication, how it can be ensured? So effectiveness of managerial communication across all the levels in the organization makes directions effective. Directing should convey clear instructions to create total understanding to the subordinates through proper feedback. Once again, let me tell you what you have to, sorry, let me tell you what you have to note down. Uh, Directing should convey clear instructions to create total understanding to the subordinates through proper feedback. This you have to note down for this point. Let us move further. The sixth point of principle, or the sixth principle that helps us to make the directing function effective is use of informal organization. Informal organization means creating a friendly relation with the subordinates. Informal organization means developing a belongingness among the superior and subordinate. Always providing instructions rigidly may not work many times. Instead, when we provide the instructions and talk to the subordinates deliberately, that may help us to achieve the organization goals. So there must be a use of informal organization also in the business, so that we can able to make our directing effective. A manager should realize that informal groups or organizations exist within every formal organization. He should spot and make use of such organization for effective directing. So you can just note down the whole paragraph because it's a shorter one and in a simpler language. So formal organization we do create in the organizing function, but informal organization automatically get created within the formal organization, that is friendly relations automatically get created. So every manager must make use of that informal organization so that the organization objectives can be achieved effectively. Then we have the seventh principle, that is leadership. While directing the subordinates, managers should exercise good leadership, as it can influence the subordinates positively without causing dissatisfaction among them. What does leadership means? Leadership means taking care of the needs and grievances of our subordinates. And lastly, the most important one, that is follow through. Mere providing instructions and not caring about whether these instructions are clear, understood, and followed by the subordinates will not make any effect. So, after providing instructions, after giving guidance, we must ensure that these instructions must be followed by these subordinates, by these employees. Let us have a quick recap. What principles we studied? The first one is there should be maximum individual contribution. These are the points what we are studying, which can make, if a manager will follow these principles, it will make his directing function more effective. So he must ensure maximum individual contribution. After that, there should be a harmony of objectives of employees and the business organization. After that, there must be unity of command in the instructions provided by the manager. Appropriateness of directing technique or direction technique must be ensured, whether it can be monetary or non-monetary, whether it can be positive or negative, but an appropriateness of direction technique must be ensured, and it depends upon the subordinates' needs, capabilities, attitudes, and other situational variables. Then managerial communication must be effective, and it should be provided in such a manner that it will be able to it will be understandable by each and every subordinate. Then use of informal organization must be made by the manager, so that the employees or the subordinates must not feel the instructions to be overburdened on them. The instructions are they should not feel that these the superior to be a boss of them, but they must consider the superior to be their part of themselves only. Leadership function must be undertaken to make the directing effective. Leadership function means taking care of needs and grievances of the employees. And lastly, follow through must be there. It means while providing instructions, we must ensure that these instructions must be followed by each and every employee, and proper feedback must also be taken from those subordinates. The I hope you all have understood the principles of directing. In the next class, we will study the elements of directing. Till then, you can just prepare notes and can revise this topic. Thank you.